right, going over this guy's data, we see he's a right-hander, high school senior. He is a Tommy John rehab case. And this is just some of the examples of where it is we're going to get when we run you through an evaluation, right? So, we do go through pitch grading. So we're grading that on the 20/80 scale. We're giving the guys the information they're going to need on that. We're evaluating jump metrics, a whole bunch of different things right here. And we're going to get more into this. But right now, let's just look at the first thing we look at, which we start everything with where's the arm at. We are going to grade that on a 20/80 scale as well. The arm care app itself is going to give you a lot more information there too. But this is just our general overview. But what you're seeing is our IR strength right now. We have a good grade on this, which is why we're able to start pushing this athlete a little bit. He's cleared for everything from a PT standpoint, as well as what my evaluative standpoints would be, which we do add a little bit on to what those PTs are doing, because PTs are just getting you back for the most part, and we're looking to actually push performance. So we're gonna have a little higher standard on some things. So right now you can see the ER is stronger than the IR. That's a great point, especially for where we're at in the rehab process. But then we start getting in out of the arm care data and we get into jumping and power production, right? So what we're seeing is this broad jump bilateral, 10 feet 2 inches was good. He's in the top for our data set, so we grade that as a 73 out of 80. But then we see his single leg jumps. His right leg is a little bit better than the left leg, a lot better than the left leg. And what we're seeing on that is we want to have that left leg be a little stronger. And one of the reasons for that is if we get down here, if we're looking right on this right there where we're paying attention to, is a right-handed pitcher, we're going to want that left leg to be stronger because it's going to help us brace and transfer energy in. So he is going to do some single leg stability work there. Now this athlete, we didn't take the weight room away, and we're just working on body weight and stability. So again, once he's cleared, we'll send him back. He can do whatever weightlifting program he wants, but I'm big on getting that isometric aspect taken care of first. So that's where we're at with him. So again, he's good on the double leg, but the single leg is where we're going to make a lot of progress on this. So overall, he's a good athlete. We just need to get him transferring energy and stabilizing better. So now we kind of get on there and we get our before and after sessions, and this is just after about a month right now. So his first session on Pitch Logic, he was 77 to 82. Now, granted, that did grade out really well on the movement characteristics. We're seeing that first session here on the top, and then the second session, I'll circle that one in blue there. We are seeing an improvement in velocity already. And again, a lot of that's coming from that single leg stability work, getting the pelvis to work, getting the legs to stabilize. And then we're also seeing he went from a 3.7 to a 4.2 extension. And actually now we're adding in a changeup, and everything's looking really good on those ends. So here's the important aspect that we're going to look at on there is session to session comparison. We've seen a 1.9 mile an hour increase in average velocity, which is important. We want to move velocity up since he's cleared, but we've seen a 4.2 mile an hour increase in max velo. We've also seen an improvement of 0.5 inches on his vertical break, which was already really good, and it's now better. His horizontal break, we lost it a little bit, but we'll always sacrifice getting more vertical on that four seam as opposed to horizontal, especially with where he's at on that. These are averages, right? So his max has been up to like 22 now. His extension, we're seeing an improvement, as well as his spin. We're seeing a 90 RPM improvement on his spin. So no change in the spin efficiency. So all those things are huge, massive improvements. And again, we're going to give you key takeaways. We're going to give you just a whole bunch of different aspects on there for all your aspects. Then we get into looking at the actual pitch grade itself. So what we're seeing is if we're projecting this out right now in our data set, and that's comparing guys in the major leagues, minor leagues, high school, college, everything, he grades out on his four seam as a 62 in terms of the movement. Now again, the max velo is below where we want, but we are seeing improvement, and the context is key there. That this guy is actually a rehab guy. So what we are seeing is where he's at in that rehab case, that top of 86, we're going to see way better than that. Now we did just add in a changeup, and this player, this was the first time that he's thrown that changeup. We made some adjustments in catch play, and now we have a baseline on where that changeup is. So his big complaint on the changeup was he said, you know what, I've never really thrown one, they're awful, and mine sucks. So what we started doing was just giving him a general changeup grip and making adjustments off that. And what we're seeing right now is, it's a little bit firm. We'd like it to be a little slower, but it already grades out from a movement standpoint as well as a change in velocity standpoint is an average changeup. So we're already in a really good spot for the first time throwing it. So now not only are we adding velo, but we're going to start adding to that arsenal. And then here's where we start to get really fun. Now we start to really project, we really start to dream a little bit And for where this athlete is based on age, based on everything, and now we're putting on the scouting lens, from an MLB standpoint, best case scenario, this player could be a third starting pitcher, but again, it's saying that we need to add in a curveball or a slider, and then we can really get a little more information on that. But right now, he's already grading out pretty good on the projection for knowing that he's going to gain velo, he's going to throw harder, he's going to get stronger, he's going to learn to pitch more. So we can say that best case scenario, he'd be that number 3 starter, right? Worst case scenario, we're probably looking at a setup or relief pitcher guy. So, that 6th through 8th inning guy, if he just stays fastball change, because right now he's already grading on that future of saying this guy could pitch for a pretty long time. So we know he's already in a pretty good position for that. So we are dreaming a little bit. We're not just looking to, throw random things out there. We want to actually paint a roadmap here. So right now, from a big league standpoint, he would be a below average grade, but also we're taking into account that he is a Tommy John rehab and he's got an 85 plus mile per hour average August target. All of a sudden we start getting into a little better aspect. So it does take into account that, yes, we are not fully rehabbed yet, but again, we're dreaming a little bit here. So this is putting on our scouting lens and looking at some different things. So again, a ceiling and projection. We have our, current, is a rehab. We think he's a 60 grade fastball. We think he's a 62 athletic ceiling, probably jump to like a 65, maybe even a 70. So even here we're saying like, hey, we could probably get him to that 70 plus by boosting that those jump metrics we talked about earlier. And then we also think like, this guy can be pitching in the junior college level, no issues whatsoever. He'd probably be almost a 60 grade, which is above average. So he'd be a very good junior college pitcher right now. So it helps us in terms of our placement for this player, where we want to start sending you to look at. So 2 to 3 years down the road, we're looking at this guy being a 60 to 65 grade college pitcher, which means he could easily pitch in pro ball. And then we start looking at integrations of development and his priorities. So now we scroll down and we look at it as, we'd like to obviously increase that extension, because with the way that his fastball works with the velo, by increasing extension, it does give us the ability to create more separation, and we think we could add another 2 to 3 miles per hour to that. We also have that left leg bracing. We want to start building out a lot more on that left leg stability. So everyone talks about, lead leg blocking. That's basically what that is, but we don't just guess. We want to assess it and make a really good evaluation and put a plan together for this. And then we also want to create a little more gap on the changeup, get it up to that 8 mile per hour increase, as well as increasing the movement on there. And then also we want to start introducing a breaking ball. Now that's going to be down the road. We're probably like 3 to 5 weeks away from really getting into that. But again, it gives us a plan for that. And then we're going to have a full eval and a full grade on this player once we get further down the road here. And then also we want him to stay on arm care daily training protocols. So again, that arm care system is going to give you that custom training. Minimum is we want to be obviously higher than that 70, but obviously as a rehab guy, we want to get that a little bit more. And this is just taking into account, the general arm care data from what the app's going to give you. But again, as a rehab guy, we want that score to be higher. And we use that custom training as kind of our post-throw weight room, especially for this player right now. And we're just fixing all those aspects. And again, if this is something you want to get yourself a nice eval and get a little more in depth of kind of where you should be, where you could possibly be, reach out, send us a message, and we can always set something up to get you looked at.